So
big old person.
Well, my friend, he has arrived.
Oh boy.
He has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Coming to us from somewhere on the somewhere on the West Coast.
Somewhere American.
Somewhere American. The Ginger Hammer. Before Roger Goodell came on the scene. He is the host of the State of the Union podcast. Little show y'all might have heard of. He is, let's see, what else is this guy? He is a Fox Soccer Analyst. This man has played for various MLS clubs, including the last one, which was the LA Galaxy. Defender, USMNT legend. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the icon, Mr. Alexi Lalas.
There he is.
Hey,
Big Red.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes,
sir.
We can hear you just fine, sir.
Oh my goodness! Look at what am I dealing with here? What have I gotten myself into here? Look at you guys! My goodness!
It's real extremist content, Alex.
Yeah. So what's give me the top level synopsis of what you're trying to do here with this show? I've seen a little bit of it, but I want to make sure I give you and your viewers, listeners, what they want out here. Is it just anything and everything, or what are we looking at here?
So what we're discussing tonight, and we got another one of our friends here. Matter of fact, our mutual friend Lex. He is a mild-mannered fellow ginger from somewhere out in whiskey country. Okay, he doesn't support a club, but that's okay because his YouTube channel, MLS Moves, is growing by the day with over 6,000 followers. I give you my guy, Will.
Big Will.
How are you, brother?
It was good until the ginger discrimination you had. It was really nice, and I was feeling good. And then you had to throw that in there.
Wow, this is amazing. By the way, this is amazing. We're less than 2% of the world here, and we're 50% on the actual show here. So long live the mutant gene.
Breaking.
My beard is ginger too. You guys just can't see it. So
what's that?
My beard is ginger too. You guys just can't see it.
Well, you might have it. You might look. It can be dormant.
It
can be dormant. So long live the mutant gene, whether you're showing it outwardly or not.
Hey, Isaiah, I wore this for you tonight too.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh
what,
yeah.
What? Listen. Why? So you can show me what a quarterback who's underserved is.
Oh,
a quarterback with no offensive line. Really? We're gonna do that?
Still good though. Still better.
Oh God. So I brought you. So, gentlemen, first off, thank you both for stopping by. I really appreciate it. The reason, I wanted to bring you guys on because there's something that has been troubling me. We are all soccer fans. We love the game. We enjoy it. We play it. Some of us, on a higher level than others. Looking at that one down there.
Pointing at me? Are you pointing at me, Isaiah?
No.
I've been known the ball.
No, you know how this is. Right there, him.
Well, you're talking about the first ever American Serie A player, isn't that right, Alexi?
Yeah, something like that. Back in the 1900s, it was a long time before you guys were
back
around,
in the
not
you.
There you go. I was around.
Too. The 1900s, yes. But here's the thing. There's been an issue that I have come across. I got to soccer fairly late, I want to say, like as a serious as a serious fan. I got in. I'd been a DC United supporter since 2013. Okay, rest in peace to Big Rob Gillespie. I get in and didn't really get more serious into it until Wayne Rooney connected on that long assist to Lucho Acosta, which you called that match, Alexi, if I remember correctly.
Well play. I remember that.
I did. It was an amazing finish to a game, and because Rooney was obviously involved, it was nuts. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was going to kind of live on and on. I knew it was a cool game, and I actually, if you listen to it, all you'll hear is my cackling in the background. It was just so completely crazy of a play. So
is that the one where Rooney ran back, tackled, and brought it back up, and then launched a game-winning header cross?
Yes, it was nuts.
That was one of the greatest plays in MLS history.
Yep,
for sure.
That was 100%. One of the that's the greatest play I've ever seen in soccer. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen. But definitely the greatest MLS play that I've ever seen. Who did you call that with?
I think it was JP. I think it was with JP Della Camera, if I remember correctly. I'd have to look, but I haven't heard it in a long time. But I do know that when people have talked to me, it's you don't even hear me except for, like I said, the cackling, because it was just so completely nuts of a play that I kind of just, you're supposed to lay out on big moments like that and not walk over if you're working with somebody, or just completely lay out and just let the crowd tell the story. And we did to a certain extent, but I couldn't hold back the laughing in the astonishment that I was seeing.
There's no way, especially since Lucho was sitting on finished the hat trick with that.
Just crazy.
That was insane. And I think didn't Orlando City actually had 10 men? I think they were down a man with that, or were they down 2?
I don't remember.
I don't remember right offhand. But anyways,
a long time ago, man.
Anyways, I remember a different time in American soccer culture. I remember the days of Lot 8 at RFK. I was living back in Baltimore at the time, and I met Big Rob and Barra Brava. Shout to those guys. I remember when there was like a camaraderie among fans that were there for the team. They were there for the game. And somewhere, I would say right around 2019 or 2020, all of that just seemed to go away. And to the point where MLS really seems to, or really sport in general, only seems to want to court a certain fan of a certain political bent. I've like I said, I've noticed this for years, and as a fan of the game, as someone who's been trying to build the sport, in my own little way, like, what have you seen? Like, what's been your experience with that, Alexi? Then I'll ask you. I'll ask all of you in particular, but I want to start with Alexi.
Well, I would push back in that from a business perspective, I don't think that MLS wants to court any specific, political side or anything like that. And that makes sense for any business. You want to have as many customers as possible. But I will agree that, certainly around the time that you are talking about, sports, and not just soccer, but sports in general, reflects culture. And as our culture drastically changed, and through a bunch of different things, whether it was the actual politics that were going on, whether it was COVID, whether it was, all these different things. And people can call it an awakening. You can call it whatever the hell you want. And again, you can agree or disagree with ultimately what the messages were there. They were upfront. They were in your face. And finally, to your point, they were accepted and championed. And, listen, when you go about doing that, you do risk alienating a certain portion. And in this case, you risk alienating, maybe potentially half of your potential customers that you have out there. So I don't think, I think it directly represents where we were going and where we ultimately have come as a country and as a culture. So maybe since you were in it, and you were experiencing it personally and firsthand, you equate it with what was going on with soccer specifically. But I think you could probably make the argument that it also played out in different ways, maybe in other sports. But yeah, I would agree that MLS and soccer in general, at the highest level, maybe at the elite level and the professional level, certainly outwardly has and continues to lean to the left. But I've found over the years that there's a whole lot more agreement and I guess camaraderie, if you will, when it comes to a political perspective that kind of simmers underneath. And again, if people are just intimidated or scared to do that, but in my day in and day out existence nowadays, it's amazing how many people I meet that, to your point, are intimidated, I don't want to use the word scared, because these people aren't necessarily scared, but they are intimidated, and so they do tamp down whatever political persuasion that they have, because again, to your point, it is so powerful on the other side. But the pendulum swings at different points in history and at time, and I don't know when that pendulum is going to swing back. Maybe as the culture is starting to swing back right now, maybe it also starts to be applied to the soccer world out there and the soccer culture that I know you were a part of.
Will, what are your thoughts on that, brother?
Yeah, so MLS is obviously very unique, right? And a lot of people use the phrasing of it's weird and it's small. And there's a lot of fan bases that want to keep it that way. They want to keep it very weird and very small. And I've talked to all you guys personally just about the gatekeeping we see with MLS, where they don't want certain fans to come in if they don't have a certain belief or don't fit a certain criteria. And because they're afraid of it changing and being something else, they want to own this sport in our country. And to Alexi's point about people coming up to him and saying, hey, I agree with the way you talk and the things you say. I just don't have the courage to say that. I also hear that a lot of times too, or see people. I am starting to see people post more about maybe their beliefs, or not even just their beliefs, maybe just not agreeing with a certain side, saying that, hey, I don't really agree with that. And I love soccer. I love MLS. So I do think we're starting to see a culture shift. And MLS, to what Alexi said, I don't think they're outright endorsing the left. I just think that they know that is their core audience, but they're not saying, hey, no people on the right are allowed to come to our games, or you can't watch our games or support our teams. But I think they know their base. They know the core audience of a lot of their teams. Now, some teams do make posts, which I've said this numerous times. I've talked to several people. I don't like when a team feels obligated. They have to make a statement on every single thing that happens in the world. They have to let you know what they believe. I don't think it's that serious. I mean, we're talking about sports. It's supposed to be an enjoyment, entertainment business that brings everybody together. Everybody is supposed to come together and not really worry about all the real world issues. And, it is frustrating to see teams kind of like, I guess, overstep and tell you what they think and kind of, alienate some of their fans. But I do think that we're going to see a change. And I think in 2026, it's really going to shock the world, or at least the United States, when you see all these different people from all these different backgrounds come together for the World Cup. Me and Alexi just recently did an episode talking about the USMNT and the World Cup and hosting in 2026. I think that is when we're really going to see a shift. And a lot of people who aren't what you'd call left are going to start supporting soccer on a broader spectrum.
Isaiah, I have a question for you. Do you want it to be agnostic? Because a lot of people maybe that are watching this or listening to this would say, okay, yeah, but in the past when it was much less, let's say, left leaning, there were still causes and there were still things that happened that maybe some people agree or disagree out there. And do you want it to be this bubble that doesn't have any reflection of what is going on in the country and culture? Or do you just want that pendulum to swing back to either what it was or maybe something new that's much more accommodating to, more viewpoints?
Great question. I personally want to see it swing back to where people are coming together over the game. I can think of all of the different cultural shifts, and we talked about this we mentioned different sports, like Colin Kaepernick when he knelt in the NFL, with the whole Black Lives Matter thing in the NBA, Major League Baseball with their various, like, I remember when the Baltimore Orioles, my home team, intentionally, like the Twitter account would not cover the game. The Twitter account would normally cover the game, and instead devoted the whole time that a game was going on to giving stats and all sorts of messaging about LGBTQ stuff. And everyone in the chat, like everyone in their replies were like, why are you doing this? There's no point to this. Like, why? Like, what are you getting? Like, how much in ESG points did you get for doing
And
this?
Isaiah, if I could jump in real quick, and also something that Will said. I think what you see is you'll see there's especially in and during like the peak wokeness of like 2018 to 2022, 23 maybe, things might be dying down a little bit, but you've seen a real sensitivity to offending people of left-wing sensibilities, but then posting let's make it Pride Month, a lot of trans stuff, gender stuff, indoctrination kind of things throughout the whole summer, BLM like the whole year during 2020, which everybody agrees that Black Lives Matter, but do we recognize that BLM is run by literal openly admitted Maoist Marxists, right? This is a fact. You can look up the videos. This is not a right-wing conspiracy theory. This is not something that we just made up. So,
yeah, but I also think that, and now I talked about it in the context of other sports, and that's absolutely something that exists. But also, if we bring it right back down to soccer, I think that soccer. Let's be honest, and I'm talking about American soccer culture, although you could certainly look at international aspects of soccer, and there's plenty of politics that have infiltrated, and I don't know if you want to use the word infected, supporters groups, and have kind of become the identity of supporters for many years. Sure.
St. Pauli in Germany.
Lazio, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. That's just the identity that they have embraced from a supporters culture perspective. When it comes to soccer, being not the major sport in the United States, being a sport that has had to fight for its place in the landscape out there, and also, let's be honest, for those of us that grew up in soccer, being kind of counterculture. Now, there's a coolness to that, but there's also a nerdism that is part of that. And so we have an insecurity and we have an inferiority and kind of wanting to be different, thinking about this game, which, by the way, unlike other sports, is much more global in the way that we think about it, even though we're doing it from a domestic perspective. So I'm just saying that maybe soccer, and in this case, we're talking about Major League Soccer, USL, and NWSL for that matter, maybe because of what it is in the United States, as far as it's come, even in 2025, when we're talking right now, it still lends itself to being, like I said, counterculture. And in that sense, having, people on the left kind of dictate what it looks like, the face of it, the message of it in the stands. And if you're Commissioner Don Garber, for example, from MLS, you want to cultivate a fan base. You want to cultivate the supporters culture, because I know, Isaiah, one of the things that's been used to market MLS and soccer leagues out there is this unique experience, is the singing, and is the marching, and is this sense of camaraderie that's more than just the 90 minutes that you're in the stadium. It's tribal, right? And so that tribe represents and the identity of that tribe ultimately is what we are talking about here and arguing about here. And we can say it should be this or should be this. I'm just saying maybe it was to be expected, in particular when you're talking about soccer, that this ultimately was what was going to happen. Who knows what happens in the future?
Well, I mean, I want to say one thing real quick, Isaiah. And one other thing that I've noticed too, and because I've met all these different fan bases from all over the country, LAFC, New York City FC, whatever it may be, you notice a lot of these fans who they just weren't soccer fans at all. And then they found like it is a group to really take them in and hang out. And they kind of adopted of being a soccer fan. I've seen that numerous times. Had a guy from LAFC a couple months ago, my friend Nick, we had him on who became a fan, and he was telling me that he hated soccer and thought it was boring. And then he got divorced and he was really depressed. And then his friend invited him to a game and they took him in, and it kind of helped him heal or whatever with what he was going through. And he still said he's not that crazy of a soccer fan. So I feel like, at least in years past, there's been people who really weren't even soccer fans to begin with who became MLS fans. So just the whole entire culture and everything about it is, kind of to your point, very unique, very different. And hopefully we will be able, I don't want to say that they've hijacked it because it's not, I don't think it's anywhere close to where it can be, but hopefully it is a place for everybody who wants to be a soccer fan one day, and not just a very small handful who are the loudest group and have taken it over for the last, 30 years.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. I just want to, can I finish my thought real quick, Isaiah? I just want to say, like, so I think there was a political lean that was like not worried about offending conservative or moderate people, but very worried about offending, left wing progressive people. And I think, Isaiah, you would probably agree that it would be better if we just, maybe the teams kind of stayed out of that as clubs.
Yeah.
Stayed out of, like, hey, this is what we all believe, right? New York City FC fans, we all believe that it's great to tell kids about gender when they're in the first and second grade all year long, and let the people, Maoist Marxists, kind of dictate what we're going to do with all our policies and defund the police and all that nonsense, right? So it's like, maybe just stay out of that. I do get your point, as Alexi, and I think you're right that it's we should have always expected it was going to be left leaning. I think supporter sections tend to be more left leaning for the most part, not always, but and it's an international game. There's a lot of left leaning people from all around South America, Europe. So yeah, that's reality wise, that's true. But I think it should be more accommodating to both. I think you've experienced a lot of blowback, and you're a strong personality. So it seems like it doesn't bother you. It doesn't bother me so much either. I had to lose my podcast basically because I was getting a little fed up with wokeness, and I had to talk about it. And I lost, I think my co-host and the people from New York City FC Nation didn't feel comfortable having me on anymore, even though I think it was a pretty damn good podcast, very funny, very lively.
Do you think that professional sports teams, whether it's a soccer team in MLS or any other ones, have any responsibility that goes beyond the X's and the O's and we won, and this is our New Jersey or anything like that, in terms of talking about things that are happening, whether it's on social media or from a general marketing perspective that they are doing? Do they have any, like I said, cultural, social responsibility to talk about the things, given the power and given the impact that sports has, especially on young people out there, and how where is that line? What is
that's a good question.
Too far? What is enough? And that line probably changes over the years, but anyway, I'm curious to hear.
No, that's a good. I'm gonna let Isaiah talk, but I agree with you. I think there is, like, I think you could probably make it more politically neutral. Like, hey, we're going to help the community with money, building, like New York City FC did with building soccer fields, small little soccer fields in different parts of the city, things like that, without it being like, hey, everybody, we're going to blast LGBTQAI plus whatever stuff all over everything the whole year. Like, maybe leave that out of it, leave that to the schools, leave that to the parents, I guess. But anyways, go ahead, Isaiah. I'm sorry.
An example of this would be what my club put out several years ago. This was a club statement that was put out right after the Roe v. Wade, right after the Dobbs decision. Okay, from the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Where the club statement was, reproductive rights are fundamental human rights. We stand in solidarity with those who may fear the repercussions of yesterday's decision and are committed to creating spaces where all feel safe, welcome, and supported. Our club is committed to fighting for human rights, inclusion, and social justice. That stuff does, like, that was pandering to the Discord servers. Okay. In my opinion, a soccer club is a business. That is an area that that really no soccer business putting out statements like that. And because they're alienating. They're very much alienating. Like, so you go into just John Q customer. I go into a soccer match at Audi Field, and I see this gray tarp that says abortion equals healthcare on it. Okay. Or remember Khashoggi, and then this awful portrait of Jamal of the late Washington Post reporter Jamal Khashoggi on it, because the supporter groups are pissed about sports washing and the fact that Jason Levy and took the group out to a Saudi Arabian a facility to train last season. You know what I mean? Like to me, there's a line. There's a line, and like I said, when you do hyper political stuff like that, one, it blurs the lines of one that becomes. I've watched too many instances where that becomes the focus, where the politics and the virtue signaling and making people feel like we're this great and awesome entity that you can spend that a certain amount of people can spend their money with. You know what I'm saying? And at the expense of other people who just ain't with that stuff.
Or if you slightly disagree with it, you're a hateful person, for example, or disagree with certain aspects of something. You just must hate people. And it's like, that's not a good message to have to your fans who just have different values. Maybe they're religious, maybe they're conservative, whatever it is. So I think that is something that they really should be thinking about. Maybe being sensitive to both sides, and maybe like you said, Alexi, like maybe being more as far as like being community, helping the community, doing things like scholarships, doing things like helping cancer patients, stuff like that, pushing cancer research or breast cancer month or testicular, whatever it is, that kind of stuff. Like maybe politically neutral stuff would probably be better.
Somebody's gonna have a problem with everything, right?
Well,
I mean, at some point, somebody has a problem with everything.
Well, some people don't like testicles. You're right. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
DC. In DC United's defense, okay.
Yeah.
They are probably one of the most socially active clubs in MLS. I would arguably, and I'm saying like with the whole DC Scores program, DC United Foundation do a lot of great work. We're always seeing the players going out and helping like with canned goods and doing stuff for the community. I mean, that was one of the late Kevin Payne's. That was the second part of Kevin Payne's maxim when he was the first, like the sporting director president of the club, which was win championships and serve the community. Okay. And unfortunately, my issue, especially over the last, what has it been? The last MLS Cup we won was 2004. A lot of times the community work has kind of overshadowed the product on the field. Alexi, you guys cover MLS, but UN will cover MLS. I know you guys see it. we talk about it all the time. But that's basically where I'm at. It's like I feel like the politics and the focus and the hyper focus on all of political issues that are so far to the left, I feel like there's just a hyper focus on it, and it's seeped into other areas, which we'll talk about.
Well, can I ask you a question then? Because you're giving anecdotal type of moments, and that's important. I mean, this is your experience from being a fan and being a fan for a number of years. It would break my heart, and it would hurt me, being an old soccer guy, if there were people that want to be soccer fans, in this case MLS fans, and were deterred because of the experience that they have going to a game. And keep in mind that every place that you go in MLS is different. As Will was saying, there's different fan bases out there, and so it's always going to be a different experience. And that's not what I'm talking about. But if you don't feel that it is accommodating, and to use the vernacular, if you don't feel that it's inclusive, that's a problem. That's a problem from a business perspective, but that's also a problem, I think, from a social and cultural perspective. And to the late Kevin Payne's point about incorporating the community. And so I'm curious, do you think that there are enough people out there to actually matter? Because again, no matter what, at some point somebody's going to have a problem with something. I'm not talking about that, but enough people out there that are deterred and are turned off by the experience when they go to a game because of the signs that they see, the vibe that they get, even, the conversations that they have being and talking about things that either they're not interested in or they have a completely different view, and that's not being accepted in that moment. Do you think there's enough people out there that are experiencing that where it is affecting the bottom line right now, and it's affecting ultimately the growth of soccer, which is something that all soccer people want, and certainly that I want?
I mean, I've spoken with people in the stands to get their feedback over the years. I've kind of read some of the responses on X and Instagram, from like with my club and with others. I definitely see a change in the culture in terms of not just they know that they don't have the numbers. By they, I'm talking about the leftists who have held the monopoly on soccer culture in America. They know that their time is up. And not only do they know that their time is up, but they're doing things to, I guess, mitigate the damage, to prolong the inevitable, right? An example of that would be Stephen Goff of the Washington Post. Stephen Goff has 160 some thousand followers on X. Okay. He's got, I'm coming up on him, got 150, almost 151. But he never posts on X anymore. He stopped posting on X after the 2024 election. So now all of the news that he breaks is on Threads and Blue Sky. Okay.
Bluesky.
Which is exactly his combined audience between the two platforms is 10% of what he has on X. We're talking about a guy who is he is I guess you could say, the soccer reporter of record, with a major publication, with a major mainstream publication like the Washington Post. After Grant Wall passed away, he kind of became that guy. You know what I mean? And you're not posting to the one platform where you've got like all of these people who are waiting for you. Will and I have both told him flat out, on his whenever he posts, we're like, "Welcome back, you've been missed," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going back." Don't look for me here. To me, and I caught on to this months ago. To me, that feels like you're trying to hide the league from people. You're trying to gatekeep the league from people who you don't agree with politically. Why else would you take all your coverage to two smaller social media platforms? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How do you, Will, you've had that conversation with him too. What was going through your mind when you heard that?
Well, clearly Blue Sky is an echo chamber and kind of like the rebellion version of Twitter that they're trying to make it that. And, several people have said they were going to leave permanently, and somehow they found their way back to Twitter. I don't know if you see some of the people said they were leaving. I'm never coming back. And they're back on like a week later. That's why I think it's funny. That's why I messaged him, or when he said he posted something, I said, "Welcome back," because I knew it was inevitable that he would be. And I think it's kind of, it's nonsense, honestly. Like going to Blue Sky, posting there's nobody. He might have 15,000 followers over there, right? 10% of, like you said, of what he has on Twitter. But is anyone really getting their soccer news on Blue Sky?
I do.
I can't wait to see.
It's pronounced Bluesky on this
Bluesky.
podcast.
Okay.
That's where I get all my soccer news on Bluesky.
Okay. I don't think Fabrizio Romano's over there just yet, but most people aren't going over to Bluesky for their soccer news. So it's like he's screaming into an empty chamber. There's nobody over there. Maybe two people over there. Maybe Alexi has a burner account. He's following him over there. I don't know. Maybe he'll let us know.
Do you have a burner account, Alexi?
It's not a burner account. I think I have one, an actual one.
Right.
Anytime
now we know where you
comes,
stand.
Anytime something new comes up, I'm in it. I register my name before somebody else takes it, so I can have it.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I have never made a post there, but I just took the MLS Moves name just so someone else could impersonate or pretend to be.
I don't have to worry about that personally. Nobody's trying to take my name.
I think I actually did see someone with your picture and your name on there, so you might want to check.
It's a nice picture, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God,
so,
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. They probably have my name with like a dartboard on it.
Yeah.
They actually have a Red Bulls logo though instead of DC United, so like it's like your Yeah.
What?
No, I'm messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
Well, what's the reaction been from the DC United faithful relative to you, in terms of? I mean, are you a pariah? Because I mean, listen,
Great question.
I don't know you very well, and I've seen limited stuff of what you do. Obviously, you're a firebrand, and there's certainly stuff that I agree with you, and probably a lot of stuff that I don't agree with you when it comes to life and politics or anything else out there. But that's okay. That's what makes the world go round, and we don't have enough of that. I'm not just talking about soccer. I think in general in life right now. But
100%.
how has this impacted you in terms of your relationship with them? And are you one of those that will now not go and sit with them either because you don't feel comfortable, or the environment that it creates around you is, I guess, for lack of a better word, but again, to use the vernacular of the current day, toxic?
So, for me, I probably have not sat in the Chico stand a single time. Like I'm saying since when the Chico stand was in RFK, I was there with Barra Brava with my friend Rob, Big Rob. I will not sit in the supporter section. I have a lot of enemies in the supporter section because I've got a big mouth, and
you don't say, Isaiah.
So what I've come to find is that it's a complicated relationship for me because I'm there for the badge. I'm there for the badge. I'm there to cheer on the boys. I've met several players who have worn the black and red. I've even, by the grace of God, I've even befriended a couple. Like DC United, from a club perspective, the club has really, really been nice to me in a way, and opened themselves up to me in a way that I never thought possible. Okay, I will say that. In terms of my relationship with the supporter groups, I don't like them. I don't like how alienating they openly are to people who do not align with them exactly politically. And I especially didn't like when, and a matter of fact, going back to the whole sports washing thing from last year, several of the leaders of the supporter groups put Jason Levian and the president of business operations, Danita Johnson, put those two through a Maoist-like struggle session over the sports washing thing. They went on an episode of RFK Refugees, the podcast of record, you could say. They went on there to basically brag about what they'd done. And I took like 2-3 days and just roasted the whole whole episode because it was ludicrous, the stuff that they were talking about and the stuff that they were over politicizing everything, and they were a little anti-Semitic too because Levian is Jewish. So, oh yeah, I'll matter of fact, I'll put that link. I'll put that link to it in the private chats.
But how would this manifest if you were to show up in the stands and stand next to, sing next to these people that I assume you have known for a while? I mean, are they kicking you out? Are they not talking to you? I mean, you can't even get along to the extent that you can be in that supporters section, even though you might have diametrically opposed beliefs when it comes to life, politics, and all those other things. You can't, for those 2 hours, get along and bond over your common love of this team.
Not with now. You know what? I will say this: there are other people who have come back into the supporter section who I do get along with, but at one point it was like, no. I was I was a season ticket member for several years with the club. Even though I live in New York, I would go down for matches, and I always go to the away games when when DC come up here to play your old club and New York City FC. So but yeah, I don't like, maybe one day, like with these guys who one of them happens to be like the nephew of one of the founders of the original founders of Barra Brava. Maybe one day that can happen, but as of right now, with the ones who have been, like proverbially ruling the roost, as it were, in the Chico stand, the answer to that's no. The answer,
Well,
that's a hard no.
You know what's sad is just, talking to you guys, seeing everything that happens. I had somebody say when I had Alexi on that they weren't going to even listen to the video because of his political views. They didn't want to hear what he had to say.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, and I see this more common, that people say, oh, I can't listen to Alexi because he's conservative, or I'm not, he's an idiot and he's conservative, or whatever it may be. And he's always gotten grief, right? That's not anything new to him. It's just, this is another layer because he's more outspoken than he has been about his political leanings. But I just have a hard time not believing that if Alexi said, hey, I supported Joe Biden, I voted for Kamala Harris, I'm liberal, that he would probably have, some of these people would be a little bit less harsh on him. Not agree with all his soccer takes, but they wouldn't be as vicious as they are. Nick saying that his podcast was canceled because they said he was too far right or he was too moderate, whatever it may be.
Questioning woke stuff. I used to support Bernie 2016.
If you didn't say any of that stuff, or just even proclaim to be more on the left, your podcast would still be going today.
I was friends with so many of the supporters. I was deep in the supporter culture in New York City FC from the beginning, since 2013 when the club was announced.
I remember you with Jordan and Chris Smith, I think, was another guy, or there was a couple people I remember you being involved
Andre,
with.
Emilio, the whole NYCFC Nation crew. When my podcast was a NYCFP, New York City Football Podcast. But yeah, I was very cool with all of the supporter groups. New York City FC, Third Rail, Hearts of Oak, what else am I forgetting? Freaking Blue Ladies, you name it. There's a bunch of them. The La Doce. And those guys loved me, but I don't know. I haven't seen them since 2020. So in 2019, 2020, I haven't seen anybody. A lot of people unfollowed me because I just started talking about politics the entire time, which I get. Maybe you don't want to see that all day. I get it. But I don't know how it would be if I went to the supporter section now. I'd be fine with them. I don't give a crap if they're Marxists. I knew some of them. They're literal Marxists, some of them. Some of those people were really nice. Like my boy TJ, I think that was his name, TJ. Sorry, TJ, if I got that wrong. He was great. But if I saw him now, I don't know if how he would act to me. Maybe he thinks I'm a terrible fascist, evil person who just hates everybody on earth. And maybe I'd get beaten up. Maybe they'd attack me. I don't know. I'm happy to be friends with anybody of any political, whatever, unless you're doing something terrible. But your opinion should not really be something to not be friends with people about. I have friends and family that are on both sides.
This is.
I don't find Lexi. I just want to say I don't know if you've probably seen this. I think that the left has a harder time with that, I think, than the right does. But that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I'm sorry for asking so many questions, but for me, this is.
No, please do.
This is illuminating and interesting. Again, we can agree, we can disagree on different things, but what I'm curious is, there's a preaching to the choir element that's going on right here in our little. Brady Bunch thing that we got miniature Brady Bunch thing that we got going right. If those people were on this call right now and were pushing back, what do you think some of the problems that they would highlight with you? And when I say you, I obviously it's individual, so there's a personal aspect of it. But what do they see is problematic from having someone like you in the stands next to them? Is it just they can't tolerate something like that because of something that you have said, something that you have done, or just the idea, if it's true or not, at least the idea or the perception that you are X, Y, or Z?
Is that for me or for Isaiah?
Either of you. I think it's for either of you.
You can answer that. Nose. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they probably look, and I'm sure you mean Alexi. I know you've gone through this yourself because I've seen it. You post something, and you're just like, "Hey, I don't know, I'm just questioning this," and then everybody's like, "Oh, why don't you just, dude, stop posting? fascist. Stop posting, MAGA, maggot, whatever they say.
Every
So
move.
if I criticize, for example, maybe we shouldn't be like teaching kindergartners, first grade, all the way to 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade about 100 different genders, which is clearly going to confuse little children. That means I hate trans people, right? So they can't be around me because I hate trans people, and I want to do a trans genocide, right? That's the kind of stuff they use, the kind of language they use, which is absurd. I really don't hate anybody. Like I don't hate anybody. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm not afraid of any groups of people. I don't have any phobias. It's nonsense. If I question like some feminist thing that just happens to be nonsense, it's bullcrap. If I question that, I hate, I'm a chauvinist. I hate women. I'm a sexist. If I question Black Lives Matter, defund the police, wanting to abolish the nuclear family, lighting cities on fire, Antifa doing that, lighting things on fire, firebombing courthouses all year long. Well, you must be a fascist because you're against Antifa. You're against anti-fascists. So
but that's a post. That's a social media reaction to it. I'm talking about the actual human interaction. And I don't know if you guys have found it, but it's a whole lot different when it's actual humans together. So
I actually haven't had
it also happen that in that
right.
case?
So I'll say this. I think I have a feeling I haven't done it yet. I just haven't been back to a New York City FC game since all that happened, since COVID. I moved back to Connecticut, started a family, all of that. So I have a feeling if I went back there, probably be a lot of people showing me love, and I bet you there'd be a couple people who just think I'm a terrible person. Yeah. And then they might want to start with me, maybe not. We'll see. Maybe they'll just give me the cold shoulder. They'll say something behind their breath. But you're right. I think most of the time in person, people hopefully act like human beings. But these can be very extreme people, very emotional people a lot of times, especially on the far left, especially if they decided in their head, man, you just are really against all marginalized groups. You just hate them.
Do you think that in those groups, when they are sitting there and cheering, do they think that it is like-minded all around them? Because, I mean, the reality is, just if you look at the numbers, you're probably going to be sitting and standing next to somebody at some point that you have diametrically opposed beliefs when it comes to many things in the world, right? It doesn't show up necessarily because you're not sitting there, with an Excel sheet checking up things while you're at a game. Right. But do you think that they think that I'm surrounded by, I'm safe here because I'm surrounded by people that are like-minded?
I think some of them do think that, but yeah, I mean, I hope they expect that like there's people with different opinions around them, and they wouldn't feel so bad if there was a Trump supporter around them or a Republican around them or something like that. I hope so, but there's some people who really do feel like they're unsafe if there's somebody like that around them. Like if there's somebody, you must have heard when people if they come in with like a MAGA hat or something, right?
Sure.
They feel like they're literally unsafe. Right. That's what they say. And like actually, some of them will probably call security. Some unhinged people will probably call security, being like, what are you doing in this? Because clearly when you wear in this hat, it means you hate this marginalized group, that marginalized group, et cetera, et cetera. You hate immigrants, whatever. And that's really what they believe. And to them, you're just like, you're part of a cause of genocide and forced labor camps or whatever they've got going on in their heads.
Yeah. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm naive and
but I don't think most people believe that. Alexi, I don't think to your point, I don't think the whole supporter section is just filled with far left unhinged people. But there's a number of them.
One thing I want to say real quick is what I would hope, or my dream of what this could be one day. It's a memory I had when I was younger. My dad took me to a Titans game. Obviously NFL a little different than MLS, but I went to a game. We had season tickets. I can't remember who we were playing, but this was a season the Titans were really good. They started the season off 10-0. And I didn't really know any of the people around me because we were new to our season tickets. So we got to know people a little bit. But I just remember that when we were scoring, we were winning. God, those days are long behind us, right? Because the Titans are terrible now. But either way, when we were scoring, had a good play, just high-fiving the guy next to me, getting excited. I don't know what the guy's political beliefs are, what his sexual orientation is, whatever it is. We were just celebrating the same team, having a good time, hoping we come out on top, winning. That's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be alienating people. It's not supposed to be asking, hey, can I check your political party affiliation card before you step in the stadium, or what your, whatever it may be. that's what it needs to be, and that's what I hope it will be. And I think with everything that's going on and people speaking, and I think that we talk about the culture shift. That's what it's going to hopefully turn into. And I remember in 2014 when the World Cup, was in Brazil, just seeing so many people here fired up for it in 2014 everywhere. It was like a phenomenon,
I remember
right?
that too.
In 2018, I do think people were excited, but with it being in Russia or when Qatar in 2022, the time zone, I don't think as many people were as excited because it was kind of like you had to get up a little earlier to watch the matches. But I think in 2026, it's going to be like 2014. And I really hope that we have something similar to like what I was talking about in my game, where we just enjoy the company of not just like-minded people as in what you believe, but fans, right? Just join the game, high-fiving. Alexi, when Jermaine Jones scored that goal against Portugal, my friends in the room had all kinds of different affiliations. I don't know what that, I was a little younger back then, but we were screaming around the house, just absolutely celebrating, giving each other high fives. That is what it should be about.
Yeah. I mean, one thing off of that, in my, for lack of a better word, my coming out phase politically, if you will, what's really been interesting to me, and I get people that come up to me, and I'm sure you guys do maybe at different times, and it's almost like this fight club sort of thing where there's a silent understanding and a nod, and we should have like a handshake or something like that, because again, people are still intimidated, and they're shy about it, and like I said, even some of them are scared about it, and so that's a great moment. But I'll be honest with you, the moment that I like even better is when people come up to me and we talk, and they start out saying, I disagree with you on a lot of things out there, but I respect the fact that you're willing to talk about it. And that's ultimately, I think, what America is. That's ultimately, at least, what America should be more of. Now, Can we get that to happen in an MLS context, or a professional soccer, whether it's men's or women's or anything like that? They're in a supporters type of culture. And I don't know, because I think it's made to be kind of like-minded. You're a tribe, and you kind of all think about things in the same way, with the understanding that the bigger that it gets, the more diversity of thought you are going to have, and you're going to have to be accepting of that.
I really do hope that's the case, because I'm just going to flip through some of this stuff here. Like, I don't like this stuff here. This is some of the anecdotes that I was talking about from last year, where support the team. Like this stuff right here is useless to me, because it wasn't about the club. Nothing of this was about supporting the team. Nothing about this was about getting behind the shirt and having something that would provide that level of camaraderie. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, when it comes to political beliefs, people will sometimes take your political beliefs and equate it to some sort of moral failing. Alexi, you deal with this on an everyday basis with all these people coming in like, I thought you were so much smarter than you were. I really thought you were a smart guy, but now I find out that you're MAGA and I can't support you. And it's like, so everything that this person was, everything that you were before they knew what your political affiliation was, just goes out the window.
Yeah. And talk about intolerance. Talk about intolerance. I mean, the left always preaches intolerance. I mean, being tolerant. They're the most tolerant, but they're frequently the most intolerant people, especially when it comes to diversity of thought. They preach about diversity. They preach about tolerance. They teach about inclusivity. Preach about it. They're not any of those things with anybody who doesn't agree with that morally and politically.
And some of the signs that you just put up. I mean, look, to your point, again, we have to at some point draw lines here or there, and we're always going to have an argument where that line should be. Some of the stuff I kind of think is universal, and everybody can, puppies and babies and let's cure cancer and that kind of stuff that everybody kind of
you'd hope so
agrees with. Yeah, you hope so. But those signs, what they're doing is they are taking the attention, they are co-opting the attention for something as honorable and as admirable as it may be, and it might even be something that I agree with. To your point, has nothing to do with what is happening in the moment and what is being celebrated on the field. For example, Megan Rapinoe, I talked a lot about that when it all happened, when she was kneeling. I will fight to my last breath for Megan Rapinoe or anybody else out there to be able to say whatever they want, not whatever they want, but not without ramifications, right? But the freedom to be able to express yourself, whether it's Megan Rapinoe or anybody else, that's fine. What I objected to was in that moment, co-opting that moment, that 45 seconds that has traditionally been the national anthem, something that, by the way, everybody has agreed upon over the years to use as a moment when everybody is there in tribute and respect out of the country, to co-opt that moment for something else and something that does not have anything ultimately to do with what we are about to see. I can agree and I can disagree with Megan on and others about the different views that they have, but in that moment, what she was doing again was taking that moment, co-opting, hijacking that moment from the majority that have recognized over years and years that this is something that we want to do, and using it for herself. And in the same way that those banners over there are taking that moment and that attention and steering it to something completely different relative to what we're there to what we're there to celebrate. And again, I can agree with some of those things maybe that are in the stands. I don't know all of them over there, but for a different time and a place, it's appropriate. And in those cases, I don't think that it is.
I think you're talking, Alexi, about which I agree with, that certain things should probably be a little sacred, right? Maybe the national anthem, we can all let's not pick that 45 seconds, minute, whatever it is, to start doing all of our different political views. Maybe everybody just puts their hand on their heart, sings along if they want, and let's just focus on the fact that we are one country and we're going to be, these are the best American women to play, or the best American men to play the game right now, and let's support them. Can we have a moment of that without everything constantly being just a moment, just like a minute where not everything has to be like, by the way, screw you conservatives because you were hateful, and then I'm going to show that right now, or vice versa. It's like maybe we have a moment where we're just all remembering we're in the same country, we're all neighbors, we're just a giant community, we're kind of a giant family if you think about it. Let's do that. I think that's exactly what we should be doing with that sort of thing. And I think people, if they would understand, like, that's part of the reason why so many on the right and probably people in the middle and people that consider themselves Democrats have a problem with that. It's like, maybe just leave that alone. Do it afterwards. Yeah. You can do it anytime you want afterwards, all the time, all day long. You could all day long be on live stream talking about how you feel about this. Leave that alone. I agree.
Will, I know that you have to jet. So
yeah, I have to head out. Wife's calling me. That's my cue. I'm sorry, guys. It was a pleasure to see all you guys. Listen, I'm not trying to get in trouble. She gave me an hour. That was gracious of her. I have to head out. Appreciate joining you guys.
I feel you.
Happy wife, happy life, brother.
Happy wife,
exactly. Yep. Have fun tonight. Get in trouble tomorrow. So yes. I will see you guys. I will see you guys later. Appreciate you for having me on.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. We got to have you on again, brother.
Really appreciate you.